Hi everybody, it's Gail from Gail's Bookish Things. I'm going to share with you today my currently inked pens for December. So I thought it'd be really kind of cool to pick out 3 inks, a gold, a frankincense, and a myrrh. Those are the gifts mentioned in the Bible that Jesus received from the visiting kings from other lands. And that's kind of a sort of a traditional thing, I guess, that I think of at Christmas time. So I started out with having Diamine Shimmer Golden Sands, and I had that in my Benu Baklava. So gorgeous, but the shimmer wasn't flowing well from this. So I switched it up, and I decided to put the gold in my Esterbrook SD. So this is the Botanical Garden model, but I felt like the colors could sort of be a Christmas theme as well. There's this gold and yellow, there's red and green, and there's also touches of blue. Not maybe what you would think of Christmas off the top of your head, but that's what I did. So I have a paintbrush and water next to me, and I'm going to try to paint in my inks on these light bulbs that I sketched earlier. I thought that the black outline here was waterproof. Apparently it is not, so I'll try to avoid the total running into the edge. I used my Sharpie gel pen, but I guess that's a little bit different than the Sharpie black tip felt markers, sadly, because I really like the waterproof element. This is such a gorgeous ink. I mean, you look at it and the color just sparkles on there. It's really amazing. I'll try to show you each bottle too. I think it's kind of fun to see the bottles that things come in. Isn't that amazing? I think maybe I let it settle too much and didn't get as much of the shimmer on there as would have been good. Since that's inked in here, we will go ahead and write it in though. And this is Diamine. It's part of the Shimmer series. And it is, I just want to say Golden Sands or Shimmering Sands, but it's Golden Sands. And I don't know why I did the parentheses there, but are the quotation marks. Golden Sands. It's such an appropriately named ink. You might be able to see a little more of the shimmer in the writing sample than we're getting on the big swatch. But time will tell. I think what I want to do though, because it is so pretty, is just grab a new brush off to the side. I'll take the one out of water. Let's shake this up. And let's try to get a little more of the beautiful shimmer in the sample there. This is my Cosmo Airlight ink journal. So it's basically just a Cosmo Airlight notebook that I've designated as my ink journal. 9 times out of 10, I absolutely love how it works on this paper. So yeah, this is broad nib Esterbrook SD in the Botanical Garden. And I decided to add a few more golds to my lineup. So in this pen, this is the TWSBI Cafe with bronze, and it's a medium nib. I have Queenstown Gold. Where is it? This is the bottle. I love how that color shows through there and reflects the light. It really is so gorgeous, just like this ink. This one just shimmers like crazy, and when it's first laid down on paper, it seems to me like the shimmer is just swimming in there. I hope you can see that. It just glimmers. Ooh, there's a lot of ink. Holy mackerel. Well, you'll get the shimmer effect. Isn't that striking though? Kind of looking fallish. I agree with you if you're thinking that. But these maybe are just versions of Christmas colors that are more muted, perhaps. Let's take another look at that shimmer. And is it showing up here? It doesn't really seem like it's showing up on this bulb, but it's definitely in the writing. And this is a great writer too. Kind of think that the Van Diemen's shimmer is a little more compatible with my pens maybe than the diamine overall. But this is such a neat color for doing like lettering or stenciling. And in the right pen, it's a good writer too, but it is a little bit, I find, persnickety. So this is the Bennu Talisman, and this is the frankincense color scheme or colorway. So here's my two golds, and this is frankincense. So for the frankincense, I decided to use the Noodler's Golden Brown because it's sort of an amber color, and frankincense, I looked up, kind of has an amber look to it. And actually the Queenstown gold mine looks really good with this too, but I was trying to, again, to pick up on the 3 wise men's gifts. You can see some of this particulate on the side here. So I'm going to make sure I kind of shake this up. I love the dimension that this ink creates on paper. When all of its attributes are kind of dispersed, it's got the neatest shading, and that black stuff in there adds a really cool dimension. So it's almost looking green now, but it can also vary in its color. So on these lighter sections, oftentimes in my writing, it's like an amber with some dimension to it. And if I forget to agitate the ink a little ahead of time, it turns out much lighter. Now we're getting some of the darker aspects of it, but in a writing form, it's not quite this dark. Let's see how it looks when I actually use it with my pen. Set that off to the side so I don't get too confused, which is very likely to happen. So this is Noodler's Golden Brown, and I picked it again to represent the color, the amber color of frankincense. Yeah, it's looking like a fall Christmas, but try to think about the shimmer here that's emerging as they dry. And this amber color. So we have our gold, our frankincense, and then I looked up myrrh. So myrrh can be an essential oil, but I didn't research it totally. I guess you make an essential oil from whatever myrrh's base object is. But when I did a Google search, it kind of showed things that almost look like raisins, which I thought was kind of interesting. So gold, frankincense, and myrrh, I decided, and it's a spice of sorts, so I chose winter spice. This is another Diamine ink. As you can see, it's a shimmer and sheen ink. Do you see that blue? Oh, this is the neatest ink. So it has a brown base, which looked a lot like the frankincense that I saw on the online encyclopedia type picture. But it has an added element of a green sheen and a blue shimmer. And as I'm putting this down, it looks really oddly pink. But this ink writes very darkly. It works really well in my TWSBI pens. And when it dries, it'll show a lot in this larger swatch if I have it properly stirred up. You might be able to see it on the edge of the bottle here, the blue and green elements. The blue sheen and green shimmer, or vice versa. Looks like a blue shimmer. Anyway, it's such a striking and unusual ink. And it's really pretty. So I chose to put that in my Conklin All-American in tortoise shell. I like these pens, kind of a chunky type pen, rounded, but has that chunk, that size to it. And I thought this kind of looked maybe like a spice, even though it's called tortoise shell. The golden and brown made me think of spices. A little touch of red in there. So this is Diamine's Winter Spice. It's snowing where I am today, so it looks wintry, even though technically it's not winter until later in December. But on my calendar, December is just plain old winter. So as it's drying, you might be able to see, I can see it, there's blue shimmer and a green sheen appearing around the edges as that dries. In this pen, my Benu Paklava, I put Noodler's Rome because of the element of copper coin. So I thought that would kind of have an aged look that fit in with the gold emphasis in Imperial Purple. And I thought that was kind of neat because thinking about it, you know, Jesus lived in the time of the thriving Roman Empire, and he came as a servant, but he's also one day to be recognized as King of Kings and Lord of Lords. So Imperial Purple fits in with that. And so that's what I'm using as just this everyday kind of ink. I don't think this is the best paper for it. In large swatches, this Noodler's Rome has a very interesting sheen to it. It's almost like a shininess, though. It doesn't have that quality of sheen that is sometimes overbearing in an ink. It's just kind of almost metallic-y. Maybe that's a better way of putting it, but it's not really coming forth in the smaller sample. But that's in here, and so I still have the beautiful gold element in the pen, but a more subdued ink there. So I'm not swatching that one. And we'll move on to this ink. This is a Pelikan ink. It's called Olivine. In this Opus 88 2024 broad nib pen, this is such a nice writer. I took a bunch of notes with it yesterday at church, and oh man, it just gushed out of there. It was absolutely delightful. So let's do a Christmas tree light bulb here. This is like a little more green than I think some olive inks show up to be. This just looks like a nice evergreen shade to me. Very Christmassy. It makes me think of holly. This is an ink I go back and forth with liking or not liking. Kind of depends on which pen I have it in. You can see the depth of the color. It will lighten a bit as it dries. This is such a good writer, and I love this pen. I love the different shades of green in this teal blue. I like the substantial size to this. I like how it feels to grip it. I like the black nib. If I didn't mention, it's a broad nib. So let's see, this is a Pelican ink. Edelstein. I don't know if you can tell, but it is just... Why do I put random quotation marks around things? I do not have a system here. Or I do, but it's not working. I like to put the name of the ink in the quotes, but anyway. Has some shading when you're writing with it. And it's just, it feels like a wet ink in this pen. This is a wet writer, I'd say. It works well with so many inks. I don't know if this is typically considered a wet ink, but it certainly works that way in that pen and ink combination. And then look at the shimmer here. This is this ink. This is the Pearl series, and it's a Dominant Industry ink. You can see the shimmer there. It makes a great shading ink without the shimmer, but it's really pretty with the shimmer. So for the holidays, I especially want to use the shimmer, but I like letting the shimmer settle and just using the green and getting a super good shading element out of it. So let's paint a little light bulb one more time. Well, there'll be a couple more times, but so much lighter. This is called Natural Green. Did I say that? It's from their Pearl series, but the green color is natural. This is a little bit tricky to paint with these paintbrushes. They're not real stiff, so they kind of do their own thing. Such a beautiful ink. I'm not for sure where I first saw this, but I think it was on Elise's channel. So anyway, I like it a lot. Okay, and in my TWSBI Eco 1.1 stub, we have Dominant Industry is the ink brand, and the color is Natural Green. This is in a glow pen, by the way. This is Glow Green. It's really fun. I like it a lot, and I like the broad, our 1.1 stub nib on this. Maybe you can get a good idea of how pretty that ink is. Good combination. This ink and this pen works really well, and my favorite thing about a demonstrator pen, of course, is being able to see the ink. The shimmer's kind of blended in now, but I just think that looks so fun to see that sloshing about. These are the kind of pens that first got me into the fountain pen hobby. I was just going to get 10 TWSBIs for my 10 pen case, and that didn't happen. It grew and grew beyond that. Okay, I have a sample here from my friend Sherry, and she sent me this Diamine Oxblood, and it's a deep color of red, shade of red. To me, it looks like a berry I've never actually seen oxblood, so I don't know if it looks like oxblood, but it does have kind of that look to it, if that's where the name actually does come from. I don't know. But I like this deep red. I thought of using Tex-Mex because it's kind of, maybe doesn't have the same undertone exactly, but it is that deeper kind of shade of red. And I think that is really pretty and grounding. Sometimes the real bright reds, they just don't, they're not my comfort place. This is my Opus 88 Coloro. It's a medium nib, and the nib on here is different than the nib on here. So they're both Opus 88s. This nib is much softer. This is a broad, this is a medium, but this writes in a really wet manner. The only thing about this pen is its tendency to be a little bit of a hard starter. Don't know why, don't know what's going on with that, but when it's writing, it's so nice. See what I mean? Like it doesn't want to start. I'll do it off camera here. Let's see. There we go. Diamine Oxblood. Such a juicy writing pen and a good ink combination. I like how this matches, and these are definitely looking a little more like you might think of for Christmas. This seems to have a bit of a teal look to it on this paper. I don't pick up on that really ever when I'm writing with it. So overall, maybe you're getting where I was headed with these more subdued yet traditional colors. You can see the shimmer a lot more on the Golden Sands, or I hope you can. And can you see it there? I mean, it's hard to miss. Isn't that incredible? Still drying here, and this is a much browner display of this ink than I typically get, and I'm guessing it's because of the heavy swatching and the fact that I actually agitated the ink and mixed up all those elements. It's super fun though when it does that, but I was looking more to represent the amber of frankincense. And now you can see the shimmer and the sheen on this winter spice. The sheen also, as the ink dries, is much more apparent in the writing. So it's looking a lot more green. And sometimes it depends on how the light hits it. So like if I tip this, it's looking a lot more brown. Then it gets the light and the green is showing forth. I have 8 bulbs here, and I showed you all of these. So I'm thinking I did intend to swatch the Noodler's Rome after all. It's just not a very, you're going to think, gosh, she's such a downer. What is it with all those dark colors? But in the writing, and when I decorate my journal pages, these are nice darker tones or hues of traditional colors. And with the page embellishments that I do, the magazine pictures or stickers or washi tape or ephemera, they all work together really nicely. Maybe we'll get a little bit of the sheen or that metallic effect I was telling you about as this dries. So let's write what this one is. This is Noodler's. This Noodler's Rome in this pen is really, really a nice feeling combination. And this is called Rome. I can see this metallic or reflective quality emerging. I do like how that looks like an ancient coin or just an aged coin. It's a somewhat non-traditional look. I might write with them for a few more days and then decide, nah, I don't like that, and I'll rinse several out and start again. That's just kind of how I do it. But at this moment, December 2nd, 2024, This is my currently inked for December. And I think I'm going to have fun with a lot of this. So thank you for watching. Take care, everybody. We'll see you again soon.